And despite clear signs that the American people do not want a hot war with Russia, the Biden administration almost seems hell-bent on frightening us into one. Now, the latest salvo started Sunday with Secretary of State Blinken's big promise.
If, for instance, the Polish government, a NATO member, wants to send fighter jets, does that get a green light from the U.S., or are you afraid that that will escalate tension?
No, that gets a green light. In fact, we're talking with our Polish friends right now about what we might be able to do to backfill their needs.
Well, not convinced that that was a brilliant idea? Well, neither were some of Blinken's friends at the Pentagon. Spokesman John Kirby earlier today clarified that the U.S. did not support transferring fighter planes from NATO bases in Germany to Ukraine. But have no fear, the deep state spinsters were on Capitol Hill today, intent on making you feel like we have to do a lot more.
Our analysts assess that Putin is unlikely to be deterred by such setbacks and instead may escalate, essentially doubling down to achieve Ukrainian disarmament.
And I think Putin is angry and frustrated right now. He's likely to double down and try to grind down the Ukrainian military with no regard for civilian casualties.
Joining me now, former Democrat Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. Congresswoman, why are we talking about no-fly zones instead of the fact that for the first time we have President Zelensky stepping back from his earlier NATO wishes and even demands?
That is literally the most important question here, Laura. You know, when I look at these issues, I think about what is in the best interest of the American people. Is what we're doing going to be good for the American people or not? And clearly, this continued escalation of this conflict and this war is not in the best interest of the American people or the world, frankly, which is why Zelensky's statement last night on ABC News, for the first time that I'm aware of, opening the door, a window of opportunity where he's open to the fact of saying, hey, yeah, maybe we'll set this NATO membership thing aside, and he's willing to talk with Putin directly to negotiate the outcome or the status of these disputed territories, really extending an olive branch. 2 points here. The first thing I thought is, why isn't this making headlines everywhere? Why isn't everybody talking about this? Even ABC News themselves didn't write a great piece and publish this across all their platforms. Had to dig to find it. But secondly, and really most importantly, is why isn't the Biden-Harris administration charging forward to take advantage of and support President Zelensky in this opening that he has created in trying to bring about an end to this conflict, bringing about an end to this suffering that we're seeing every single day?
Now,
isn't it the case,
excuse me for interrupting, but isn't it the case that the longer this goes on, unless there's some miracle in the offing, but the longer this goes on, the higher the price, I would argue, that Putin's going to try to enact from Ukraine? It's not like it's going to get easier as time goes on. It's going to get harder for Ukraine as it goes on. And yet we don't seem to hear any of this, any discussion of this from the foreign policy elites in Washington.
Nothing that the Biden administration has done has helped to make this situation better, has helped to de-escalate this situation, which is why the only conclusion that I can draw about why they have been completely silent and not engaging at all on this window of opportunity that President Zelensky opened last night is that what is happening before our eyes right now is exactly what they want to see continue. Why is that? Because it's good for the military-industrial complex. It makes these politicians look tough, and really, you know, it allows them to have this proxy war with Russia, something that Hillary Clinton laid out just recently. Really, what their aims are, this war machine, this power elite in Washington, is they want to turn Ukraine into another Afghanistan, turn into these killing fields where this long-term insurgency is supported, and they bleed out and cripple, kill as many Russians as possible for who knows how long. And they're really showing their real aim in the fact that they're not taking action right now to end this conflict.
Now, it might not surprise you since you just mentioned it, but Hillary Clinton is indeed back on the war wagon. Watch.
If you care about freedom, if you care about democracy, if you care about the rights of individuals, if you care about our future, even though it's a war that is happening far away. It is a war that will affect what kind of world we're going to live in. The Ukrainians are really, and I would argue, fighting for all of us.
Tulsi, so they're fighting for Americans in Ukraine. What? What?
You know, people like Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, they all use this flowery language about how, you know, we've got to take a stand and pay the price. The American people need to pay, you know, so much more for gas, so much more for food, make those decisions between filling their gas tank and buying groceries because freedom? The question that we should all be asking them is, okay, tell us how Russia somehow has the power to take away our freedom of speech here in America. Tell us how Russia has the power to take away the freedom and rights of parents who want to make sure their kids are getting a quality education. Tell us how Russia has the power somehow to take away our right to bear arms, the rights that are enshrined in our Bill of Rights. The answer to these is they don't. They don't have that power.
No,
so the lines that we're being sold, it's just crap, Laura. It's crap. And sadly, their actions are resulting in more and more people suffering rather than being leaders and de-escalating this and bringing about an end to this war.
Yeah, we have our own politicians eroding our constitutional rights every day, and we see it on the Supreme Court as well. Tulsi, great to see you tonight, as always.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.